All right, folks, I'm back from the dead. What you gonna do? I want to talk about every movie I watched in 2025. Happy New Year, ladies and gentlemen. I hope your 2026 is better than my 2025. I'm just kidding around. I'm not. But anyway, let's talk about movies. I'm gonna warn you, I haven't seen that many new movies, not out of lack of watching movies, just out of lack of wanting to watch new movies. It's weird. Like this year, I remember rewatching The Big Lebowski. I rewatched Sin City. All of these like classic movies that I love, and I tried going out to the theater, and I'd watch a movie I thought would be good, and I'd just get burnt on it. And then I'm like, I don't know if I like going to the movies. That's not to say that this year didn't have some good movies. Of course it did, much like any other year. There's always going to be some good movies. But alas, here we are. So I only watched 25 movies this year, not the most I've done. On average, I'd do about 60 a year if I'm ever doing like a top 10 video or a recap video, but this just wasn't the year. There was a lot of obstacles in the way. There was the fires, the Los Angeles fires made it so that there were fewer movies coming out this year. Ripple effects from the strikes and pandemic still affecting. So I haven't seen that many movies. So the way I usually do this is I start with the movie I like the least, work my way up to the movie I like the most. But before I get started on that, I am going to do a shout out to the Chair Company. I know a lot of people loved it. I wasn't one of them. I started liking it. The first three episodes, I would say, were fire. And then as the show went along, it kind of just lost me at some point. And I'm usually a fan of Tim Robinson's humor. That just didn't stick the landing for me. But I don't talk about TV. I just talk about movies. I have commitment issues. I can't watch more than 3 hours. That's like the amount of commitment I'm willing to give. All right, starting at the bottom, Video Heaven. This was a documentary that is just comprised of archival footage, and it's narrated by Maya Hawke. It's not good. It's basically clips from movies where people go into video stores, like they have that clip from the zombie movie with Will Smith, whatever that's fucking called, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I don't even fucking know anymore. No, that's not the name. Anyway, they have like a bunch of different clips from movies, Mallrats, Clerks, all these random movies in which characters go to video stores, and Maya Hawke, in the least enthusiastic, monotonal voice, talks about the magic of going to the video store. A long lost art, one might say. This was the boringest movie I've ever seen in my life. It's just 3 hours, and I'm pretty sure the runtime was close to 3 hours. From what I explained of the movie, it's a 90-minute premise, but it extends far beyond 90 minutes. But it was just Maya Hawke in that boring ass voice talking about how magical video rental stores are. And I'm of the age where, like, when I was a kid, I went to the video rental store, and when I hit maybe 12, I stopped. Like, basically, I stopped when online piracy became big. So I don't have that fond memories of it, but yeah, just listening to a woman talk about video rental stores for 3 hours and not even delving into anything interesting, not delving into like Netflix trying to buy Blockbuster and Netflix laughing in the face of Blockbuster, not diving into any of the topics you would think are interesting, just like, this is a magical place. You flirt with people. You get to see what their movie taste is. It was like that. I'm not even shitting you. Do not watch this movie. It was cuck up pee pee. Next, the Shrouds. um, this was a hard one to rank because I find it so awful it's good. This was by far the hardest I laughed in a movie theater. Just a little backstory on this movie. So I moved to Montreal, and this was the last movie me and my friends wanted to watch before I moved from Toronto to Montreal. So anyway, we go to this movie theater, and it's a Cineplex. Anyway, and we get there. the movie theater was called like VIP Queensway or some shit like that. And I buy the VIP ticket thinking like, oh, it's called VIP theater, so it's a VIP ticket, whatever. But it's like, no, they charged me an extra $10. So I went to the clerk and I'm like, hey, what's the extra $10 for? He's like, oh, because you got a VIP screening. And I'm like, okay, how do I opt out of that option? And he's like, you can't. It's only playing in the VIP theater. And I'm like, all right, okay, sure. So I go in the VIP theater, and there's like 10 seats, maybe 15, and it's a very small screen. Right there, I feel like I got gypped. And then I'm like, where does the $10 go? And apparently, from my conversation with said clerk, he says that the $10 gives you access to food. Oh, okay. So $10 and you get food. All right, maybe they're gonna give me a small bag of popcorn or something like that. And it's like, no, you get the waiter. Like, you still have to buy the food. All what you got was the waiter. And already at that point, I was pissed at my purchase. And I didn't want to watch the movie, but I watched it anyway because, like, I already sank fucking $30 into my movie theater. So I watched the movie, and it's terrible, dude. It's so bad. It was just us three, like me and my two friends, and a couple. The movie starts and it's bad, and I can tell it's bad, and my friend is just there like laughing, and he's not even trying to hide it. He's like, ah! And I'm like, come on, dude, you gotta quiet down. There's a couple there. They're trying to romance. He's trying to get her to cuddle in his arms. You know, it's a Cronenberg movie. You would expect a little of that. And then, like, a half an hour in, they started laughing. And then I started laughing. And it was just like we were all in hysterics. There's so many fucking funny moments in the movie. It feels like a really low budget movie. If I remember correctly, it was funded by the Ontario government, like the Ontario Grant Fund. It was supposed to be a Netflix miniseries, and Netflix pulled the plug on it. And then he like shopped it around, no one picked it up, so it just ended up being like a Canadian movie. I don't know if that like budget limitation just made for a laughably bad movie, but like basically the premise of the movie is this guy has a graveyard where you can see your loved ones decompose. There's like a GoPro in the coffin and you can see them decompose, and then grave diggers steal bodies, and it becomes like this kind of mystery. But it was really uncompelling. There's so many funny moments, but the one that got me laughing the most was there's flashbacks to him with his wife who's since deceased, and the wife is played by Diane Kruger and the husband's played by Vincent Cassel. And Vincent Cassel is like talking about how he's gonna miss his wife's breasts because she has breast cancer and she's getting her breast removed. And then in the next scene is him on the iPad just looking at pictures of his wife's breasts. Just like, memories of old, man. The boobs, dude. That's what they should have called the movie. The boobs. I don't know if it's the worst Cronenberg movie I've seen, but it's up there. Like, I remember Cosmopolis being... Was that what it was called? Cosmopolis or whatever? I remember that being bad. But I remember it being boring. This, I watched it and it felt amateurish. I was like, this has to be some elaborate prank. But, I don't know. There you go. The Shrouds. Next! This one might come as a surprise to some. It's praised as one of the best movies of the year, but it just did not do it for me. It's Sentimental Value. Again, like, I know you're gonna look at top 10 worst lists and it's gonna be like Five Nights at Freddy's and shit like that. I don't even give those movies the light of day. I don't even see them as movies. So if you see like a movie towards the bottom, you're just way worse than that came out this year. Like, I trust me, I get it, but I just don't swing that way. All right, Sentimental Value was weird because I really loved the director's last movie, The Worst Person in the World. I just found this one so slow. it just didn't have much to say. I was watching it, and in the first half of the movie, there's this scene where Stellan Skarsgård is on the beach, and there's this carriage, and it felt very Fellini, and I'm like, that's what I'm in for. I'm in for like a Fellini movie, and it kind of felt like 8.5 in the themes that it's trying to talk about when it talks about artists and directors and washed up people. It really isn't like that at all. I felt like it was very, very slow and didn't have much to say at all. Dare I say it felt a little pretentious. I didn't get this movie. I'm sure smarter people than me like this movie. I just did not understand it and I wanted it to end. And not to say, too, when I went to the theater to watch this one, a lot of people were walking out of it, and I was like, I have a rule. I don't walk out of a movie because I always want to see the ending, but I'm like, I want to be that person so fucking bad right now. Stellan Skarsgård does give a really good performance, and so are all the performances across the board except for Elle Fanning. I thought she stuck out like a sore thumb, but I was just really uninvested in the plot. I really didn't care about the movie that's being made within the movie. There had to be something there that's a hook, or some kind of energy there, or something that gives this movie a distinct voice. Unfortunately, none of that was present, and what's left was a very dreary, self-serious, pretentious movie. And yeah, you go ahead and write your hate comments here, folks. Next, I have the Toxic Avenger. I'm not a fan of remakes in particular, but I decided to give this one a shot because I'm just a fan of Trauma. I'm a resident of Traumaville. I love Uncle Lloydie. And from what I understood with the marketing of this movie, Trauma did have a very heavy hand in the making of this movie. Unfortunately, it just missed for me. It's not good. First of all, Peter Dinklage is the main character in this film. He has a lot to do, but I don't think he's necessarily doing anything unique with it. I thought the performance that stood out was Kevin Bacon, to be quite honest. But there's like a fundamental problem with this movie in that the original Toxic Avenger is just dumb. And this tries to keep that same level of dumb while elevating it with broader themes of like healthcare, unaffordability, and stuff like that. And it doesn't approach these themes in the same punk rock attitude or that cynical voice that Trauma is known for. It kind of just felt like it wanted to elevate everything, but it's not really what I watch a Trauma movie for. Kind of felt like it wasn't too schlocky and it wasn't too smart. It kind of just went right down the middle and it missed completely for me. The gore itself, I think it's just a me thing. I'm like the only person who has this, but when I see gore and it's like a computer effect, it doesn't like resonate for me. Like I don't get grossed out. When I watch a movie like The Thing, I'm like, ew. But when I see like digital gore, I'm like, oh, that's like digital. There's like a degree of removal for me in my brain, so I never got grossed out by the gore. The one thing they paid tribute to Trauma in a good way is one thing I love about Trauma movies is the background ADR is always super shitty, and they do that in this movie. So as a fan of Trauma background ADR, I did appreciate that, but it wasn't the best movie. Next, I have Together, the movie starring no, not James, oops, Dave Franco and Alison Brie. This is my impression of Dave Franco in Together. No, we gotta go now! I feel like Dave Franco is a bit of a charisma vacuum, and this is coming from someone who liked James Franco before all that horrific shit about him came out. It's like Hollywood had a meeting, and it's like, we have an invention here. It's James Franco, but without the creepiness. We call it Dave Franco, and it's not quite James Franco. James Franco was good in the sense that whenever I saw James Franco in a movie, he knew he was in a movie. He was doing like this weird performance art while acting in movies, and he always stuck out like a sore thumb in movies in a good way. Like I like him in Oz and Great and Powerful and stuff like that. I just feel like, and not to pin the two brothers against each other, but I feel like Dave Franco lacks that identity, that kind of charisma. He doesn't have that. Of the two performances in the movie, I thought Alison Brie had the bigger one. I just felt like this movie lacked. It's trying to say a lot, but it's not saying anything at all. There's a lot of goofy moments that take you out of the movie. There's like a part where like Dave Franco is like possessed and acting like an asshole, and it's kind of laughably bad. There are some good moments. Like I like the moment where they take a sawzall and try to cut each other apart. Those were cool, and there's some good body horror elements in it. I just felt like the movie was a little all over the place, and to be honest, I'm having a tough time remembering it. I just remember Dave Franco stood out to me as being not particularly good. Next, another one that's gonna piss people off. I did not like Superman at all. Okay, before this movie was coming out, I kept saying, like, I want to see James Gunn not do a superhero movie. We got Guardians, we got Suicide Squad. Like, that's four superhero movies in a row. I was hitting a point where I was like, this guy is going to have a Sam Raimi moment where he's just exhausted all of the tools in his tool bag and he's going to run out of steam. And that's kind of what Superman was. Everything he does in the Superman movie, I saw him do it in the Guardians movies before, and not to mention better in those movies. Like that scene, I remember at the end, there's like a scene where Superman saves everyone from the portal world, whatever that was, and all the weird aliens are crawling out. I'm like, oh, that's Guardians 3. It was the same ending. And then the characters in the movie seem to be like archetypes of different characters we've seen before in James Gunn movies. The robot kind of being like a Drax person. It's like we've seen all these archetypes before, and I kind of just want to see James Gunn do something like Slither or Super, something that's like different. And it's a shame he went that route because before James Gunn got roped into the DC universe, he was one of those named directors who were young and upcoming who could have basically done whatever the fuck he wanted. Someone along the lines of an Ari Aster or a Robert Eggers, someone who could have just banked a movie on his name alone and done it like low budget. He was in that conversation, but now he's just the superhero guy. I like David Cornsweet. I think he was the best part of the movie. I think he brings that Superman charm. I think I'm just a little burnt out on superhero movies, and I thought there was too much shit going on. It just felt like a CGI clusterfuck, which is weird because there's also like footage of James Gunn saying that the best way to do special effects is mixing it practical and digital, which is point taken 100%. I feel like he didn't even respect that rule in this movie. It kind of felt like all that he was criticizing about Marvel, bloated budgets, over-reliance on CG, multiversal subplots, he criticized them, but they're all present in this Superman movie. So it's like, I don't know. And the fact that he's tied to this project probably for the next 10 years of his career, it doesn't give me much hope. This like was a unique voice, and now he's just attached to this corporate thing. I don't know. The moment that I did love about the movie is when they're fighting the giant monster, which that felt like the most James Gunn because you had this giant monster that's terrorizing the city, and Superman's trying to contain the monster in the most humane way possible. And meanwhile, the Green Lantern guy is just stabbing him in the eyeball, and all the goop is spilling out of his eye. I thought that's the angle the movie was going in, where it's this very cynical James Gunn world, but Christopher Reeves' Superman is just thrown in there. But there's so much shit going on. Lex Luthor building an army, this portal world that has prisoners, and there's so much shit going on that I couldn't appreciate what I'm presuming James Gunn was trying to do. That's just my thoughts on it. Yeah, Superman. Number 18, I have Bugonia. I thought this was a bit of a mess too. The main problem I had with the movie is the movie kind of shoots itself in the foot in the sense that you set up this world where your protagonist is completely wrong. His views are completely damaging. He believes that Emma Stone is an alien. He believes all these online conspiracy theories. The ending can only go one of two ways. Either the character is tried, condemned for his actions. That's a bit of a boring ending, but the ending that's the most logical in terms of storytelling. And the other ending you can go with is the one they ended up going with, which is the main character who's wrong, who has wrong beliefs and is hateful and damaging, was actually right this entire time. And it's funny in the moment, like when I was watching it, but then when I thought back on what the movie is trying to say, it just didn't make much sense to me. It kind of felt like that ending was just like, let's subvert it. They didn't think of like the larger reason to subvert said expectations. I thought the dialogue was especially on the nose and not very subtle. Felt very overtly political, with terms that tend to draw me out of a world instead of bring me in, like echo chamber, manosphere. Words like that kind of just remind me that I'm watching a movie instead of being in the movie. I did like Stavros Halkias as as the pedophile police officer. That was definitely an interesting subplot. I like how he delivered all of his dialogue as if he stepped on the main character's toe. He was like, "Listen, I'm really sorry about what happened. I don't know what the director was trying to do there, but it was funny. If anything, it was a cheap laugh, but a good one. I like a good cheap laugh. Naked Gun 17. I have Naked Gun. I wasn't a fan of this Naked Gun movie, even though everyone is raving about it. I went in expecting the same kind of humor. The problem I had with it is I felt like Liam Neeson was leaning into the joke, which is weird because when they cast Liam Neeson, I'm like, that's like a logical person, because when Leslie Nielsen was cast in the original Naked Gun movies, or prior to that, Airplane, he was a dramatic actor. And Liam Neeson is kind of the same situation. He's more of a dramatic. But when he was delivering the dialogue, I felt like he was just trying to get a laugh. Unlike Leslie Nielsen, who was just kind of delivering it like a straight guy, just, stick or fish. I remember I had lasagna. I think that's the main thing that took me out of the movie. There were some good jokes. I like the car chase sequence where Liam Neeson is driving and he's hitting all these things and he breaks the windshield. Then he like drives into a windshield and it lands. That was good. There was moments like that that were good. There were some moments that just weren't funny and felt like they were going on forever. There's like a scene where they're interrogating someone and it's like, oh, it's not the house, it's the police station. Oh, it's not the police station, and the police station unfolds into something different, and it just kept going on and on and on. Also, I felt like aesthetically the movie was really gross to look at. And I know it's like a dumb broad comedy and I shouldn't be really preoccupied with aesthetics, but it had like this glossy feel to it, and it looked more like a comedy than the thing the comedy is parodying, which is like a police drama. When I picture what would a modern Naked Gun movie look like, it should have been shot like one of the Jason Bourne movies or one of the late Bond movies. It shouldn't have that modern comedy aesthetic that feels like they call it the Netflix approved cinematography. Yeah, so the thing with comedies is that it's relatively subjective. It's either you laugh or you don't. I find the original Naked Gun movies funny. I didn't find this one to be quite as funny. Some good moments, like the snowman, that whole sequence made me laugh. But other than that, I'm struggling to remember it. It falls below the Naked Gun sequels. Like, I would do the original Naked Gun, then Naked Gun 2, 3, then this. Kind of a series that runs out of steam as the next installments come out. Next, so at this point, I'm saying that the movies are good. Okay? So next, I have a movie called Peak Everything. It's not a really known movie. It's a Quebec movie, but I live in Quebec, so I watch them from time to time. I'm not gonna talk too much in depth on it, but it's about a guy who buys this box. It's like a therapeutic box, like one of those hippy dippy scammy things. So he buys it and he falls in love with the person that's on the phone who sold it to him. Meanwhile, the apocalypse is about to happen. We don't know if it's in his head. It's kind of a take shelter with Michael Shannon situation where this guy is a bit of an environmentalist doomer. It was a fun, dark rom-com. I suggest you watch it. Next, I have Sinners. at number 15. Sinners was good. When I watched it, I had a lot of fun. I call it the Get Out situation, where I watched Get Out when it first came out, and I liked it. I was like, that was fun. It was schlocky, definitely upper tier Blumhouse movie. And then I started seeing it get nominated for Oscars, and I'm like, it wasn't that good. It's good. I like it. It wasn't amazing. In the case of Sinners, I'm really happy for the director. He has all the rights to the movie after, I think, 10 or 15 years. That's pretty cool that he negotiated that deal. And I do like what the movie is aiming to do in terms of what the movie represents, a big budget horror original film. It felt like From Dusk Till Dawn, and I couldn't get it out of my head that it's literally beat for beat From Dusk Till Dawn. You have two brothers who are involved in a criminal activity who find themselves in a bar, and as they're in the bar, the patrons of the bar start becoming vampires. That's literally From Dusk Till Dawn. Even specific moments of the movie is like, that's From Dusk Till Dawn. And my brain kept doing that. And that's why when I watched it in the moment, I was like, listen, it's fun. I had a good time, but it's not like upper tier in my head. I do like what the movie is trying to say about cultural appropriation. There's some beautiful segments in there, like the musical history segment, and then the segment where they're doing the Irish music outside. All that was really good, but from a narrative level, I couldn't get around that fact. I'm probably going to get a lot of heat for this, and I know a lot of people are going to disagree with me. I don't think Michael B. Jordan is the strongest actor, and I think if you would have put a charismatic actor in that lead, someone like, say, a Jamie Foxx, someone who can carry a movie, I feel like the movie would have been a lot better. There were moments when I was watching the movie, I was like, which twin am I watching right now? Because his performance was so indifferent between the two characters. And I feel like if you had a greater actor step into that role, it would have been a better movie. But as it stands, I liked it enough. It was fun. I enjoyed watching it. The cinematography is beautiful. The music slaps. That's probably the best aspect of the movie is the soundtrack. The narrative redundancy and Michael B. Jordan's performance kind of just keep it a bridge away from like, I believe this should win an Oscar. I'm not at that level with Sinners. Next, I have F1. This is a dad movie. If you know what you're getting, if you understand that this is basically Top Gun with race cars or Days of Thunder, you're gonna like it. When I watched it, I was like, eh. I didn't have the same level of excitement as I did with something like the new Top Gun, but I thought it was serviceable enough in terms of that Jerry Bruckheimer produced formulaic blockbuster. It does everything it's supposed to do. One iconic thing about Jerry Bruckheimer was the sex scene. You had to have the sex scene, man. Top Gun, the original, had a big sex scene, and take my breath away. That's iconic. And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's market research. Zoomers don't like sexual intercourse. They find it stupid and lame and gross and unsanitary. I don't know what it is. Throw back the sex scene. Is it necessary? No. On a narrative level, the sex scene is never necessary. But on a purely humanistic, Neanderthal brain level, it is necessary. It's something I noticed in the last Top Gun movie, too, is as soon as there's a sex scene, oh, well, that's it? You know? I'm not asking for something graphic here, but a little bit of a thigh here and there, you know? Maybe a little tongue action. And maybe it's just a bit of hair. Okay, I'm getting carried away here. Next, I have One Battle After Another. This was interesting. Like, I think I need to watch it again. When I watched it the first time, I didn't understand what the movie was about, to be honest, because, like, my brain was doing mental gymnastics. I'm like, okay, it's taking place in modern day, or relatively modern day, but these characters are acting like Black Panthers, but they're not Black Panthers. I was doing a bunch of mental gymnastics in my head, so I feel like I missed the emotional pull of the movie, especially in that first act. And then as the movie went on, I liked the movie. Kind of has like a Big Lebowski, Coen Brothers feel, where you have this eccentric character who's a bit of a schlub, who smokes a lot of weed, and he gets roped into this big conspiracy that is so above him. It kind of had that feel. It's definitely one of Paul Thomas Anderson's weaker movies. I don't think anyone will debate that. But it just goes to show how amazing his filmography is. This isn't There Will Be Blood. This isn't The Master. This isn't Phantom Thread. This isn't even A Punch Drunk Love or a Boogie Nights or a Magnolia. I would put all those films above it. It's a step up over Licorice Pizza, which I wasn't that big a fan of, and Inherent Vice, I wasn't a fan of either. But that one, I think that one deserves a rewatch. I think culture was not ready for Inherent Vice. Maybe. I don't know. That's how I remember it anyway. But anyway, so I feel like the movie, on a political level, was the most interesting movie 2010 could have made. And it's weird because Paul Thomas Anderson said that this idea has been brewing in his head for a long time, probably since like the 2000s. And it shows in its political messaging because it doesn't have the relevance of a movie that would come out in 2025. The message feels quite straightforward and simplistic, which isn't really appropriate for 2025 because things are so crazy and muddied at this point. The fact that you have a very straightforward political message, it feels very Obama era, and it kind of feels like it missed that wave. That's how I feel about it anyway. I feel like the political messaging isn't that deep. It feels like something that should have came out during the Obama era. It's not a criticism of the movie per se, just like the timing of it. It's like it doesn't feel relevant. It feels more like a time capsule of a different era. In terms of the performances, I liked everyone. I don't like Sean Penn in the movie. He was hamming it up too much. He was too much of a hateable bad guy. And I feel like it was a bit of a missed opportunity to make a truly spectacular movie with his performance. When an actor approaches a character, there has to be a bit of sympathy in order to portray that character to its fullest capabilities. And I feel like there is so much vitriol in his heart and so much disdain for this character that kind of comes across as like an impersonation. Like, I know Norm Macdonald talks about this. When people do a Trump impression, you can tell who likes Trump and who doesn't like Trump, because the people who do a bad Trump impression doing and the people who like Trump actually do an accurate impression. I'm not saying that he should have liked the character, but he should have found some kind of sympathy with this character in order to approach his performance, but he didn't. And now the performance kind of just feels like a cartoonish bad guy. It felt like he was doing his performance in Gangster Squad, which was critically panned when it came out. And for some reason, the same performance is getting high praise. Ironically enough, I thought the best performance of the movie was Tiana Taylor. She was the most interesting part of the movie because she is like a revolutionary, and she kind of just abandons her team and fucks them over. And I thought she was the most interesting part of the movie. And I was like excited to see her journey and where her character goes. And I wasn't expecting much of Tiana Taylor because I know her more as like a singer than an actress. But she like really carried the movie in that first act. And then the movie switches focuses from her to Leonardo DiCaprio's character. He's pretty inconsequential to the plot when you look at it. Like, everything that happens in the final act are completely because of either the daughter or because of Sean Penn. Not really DiCaprio. He's kind of just along for the ride, which I don't mind, but it's also, I felt like, why am I watching this character at the end of the day? I felt like Chase Infinity was the more interesting character in those last two acts, and Tiana Taylor was the most interesting character in the first act. So yeah, I felt like the movie had a focus problem in terms of the political messaging. I felt like it was a bit outdated, not very relevant to today's time. And I thought Sean Penn was, every time the camera went to him, it was too cartoonish. It drew me out of the movie. Like, why are we watching this guy? The movie is kind of like all over the place tonally. At some points, it feels like Dukes of Hazzards, where he's like the sheriff and they're kind of just like mocking him. And then at other points, like it feels like it wants to be taken seriously with its political messaging, and I couldn't just put my finger on it. I was like, so yeah, definitely like a fun movie to watch. I do not regret watching it. It does like swing for the fences. It doesn't quite make it, but I appreciate it for what it tries to do. Above that, I have you can judge me all you want, but I have Happy Gilmore 2 above. It's just so fucking dumb. And it's weird because like it does everything a legacy sequel does that everyone hates. Like the flashbacks, that the constant lineage, like, oh, this guy has a son, this guy has a son, the guy who gets a nail in the head has a son, the you jackass guy has his son, and his son is there, and everyone, it's like every cliche from a legacy sequel is present. And for some reason, like my brain didn't care. It's like the movie lowered my IQ to its level and then made me enjoy the movie. It's also really weird. It opens and it's like Logan, where like Happy Gilmore is like a depressed alcoholic because his wife dies. Like I almost expected like Johnny Cash music to start playing. His life is a mess and he hates himself and he's like constantly drinking. Then like halfway through the movie, like they start doing this like surgery to make people wind their spine more. So when they drive like the golf ball, they have like a bigger swing. And it kind of becomes like this science fiction superhero movie. And like then they start doing like the golf tournament and it's like this like modern golf TikTok version and it kind of felt like Squid Game. And I'm like, wow, you're touching on every possible genre except the genre the first movie is known as, which is a sports comedy. Like they tackled science fiction, drama, everything but the sports comedy. It was really weird. I felt like I was tripping acid while watching the movie. It had to be intentional, dude. And one thing is, like, I was just talking about how Tiana Taylor is actually a really good actress. That's the same thing goes for Bad Bunny, man. Bad Bunny is a really good actor. I don't know what it is, man, but I don't know. I was gonna smoke a bowl while watching Happy Gilmore 2, but the movie did it for me. I don't know what I watched. It's dumb. Shooter McGavin in it is back. He's like the Joker. It's just a really weird movie, and I remember the first movie. I've seen the first movie quite a few times. It totally does not feel like that movie, like the second one. The second one feels like Hoobie Halloween. It's a bit more in line with the Waterboy versus the first Happy Gilmore felt like a straightforward sports comedy. I don't know what they were smoking when they made this movie, but I want some. Um, next, 11 Eternity. This was the best movie of 2001. This feels like it should have came out right in 2001, 2002, that area. Yeah, it's a very straightforward movie, and they don't make movies like this anymore. Just a straightforward A to B, no bullshit, no hickory dots. Here's the plot. Fuck off. It felt very straightforward. It felt like it was made for the female demographic, which is something I can appreciate as well, because I feel like modern movies try to homogenize the two, and as a byproduct, women are left with fewer movies made for them. And this felt like a movie that was made for women, you know? Listen, like, am I a big rom-com guy? No, not really. But this movie in itself is relatively harmless. It felt emotional. The comedy landed. I like the characters in it. So even if it's a genre I don't quite find myself attached to, I can at least appreciate what the movie is trying to do. And I think it works. Like, it's a very beautiful movie. Great performances. I liked Miles Teller in it. Elizabeth Olsen is really good. The girl from The Holdovers, I forget her name, but she's good in it. The side characters are fun. They're flashy. it's a high premise film, and it really plays on every aspect of that premise. Make sure they squeeze out every laugh you can do, every plot element you can do from that premise. It's kind of like the opposite of One Battle After Another. One Battle After Another is a movie that swings for the fences, and it kind of misses in a few aspects, but it succeeds in other aspects, and it's a bit of a crooked home run. A movie like Eternity is like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here, and maybe I'll get a single or a double, but I'll get that guaranteed. So, yeah. Next, I have Two Women. Two Women is another Quebec movie, and this was a bigger one. It was probably the big Quebec movie of the year because it played at Cannes, if I remember correctly. But it's a remake of, or more of a reimagining, because it has different perspectives now. It's about these two women. Both are in marriages, and they're not necessarily miserable, but they are getting to that point and they want to spice up their life. So they decide to explore their polygamous side. Their boyfriends and husbands are not really aware of their new alternate lifestyle. I thought it was a fun movie. It was just fun. Again, it's like an Eternity situation. It doesn't strive to be anything exceptional, but everything it does really well. There's some great moments, some great comedy. Like, basically what they do is they start hiring handymen and plumbers, and they'll start fucking the plumbers. And they'll start fucking the handymen. It felt very juvenile, but also very heady at the same time, which I do appreciate. I appreciate that the movie gives a giant scope at the lens of modern relationships, now that the institution of marriage and two people relationships are being questioned. What are the consequences? What are the downfalls? And what are the upsides of being in a polygamous relationship? And basically, the conclusion the movie comes to is it's for some, it's not for others, which is a solid take. It's not going to piss anyone off. It's basically everyone's take. It's like, hey, you do you. And yeah, your characters are left with one likes it and one doesn't. So it's a very harmless movie. There's some good laughs in it. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the movie, it has Laurence Leboeuf in it, who's known for Shorzy, and Turbo Kid is where I know her from. But yeah, go watch it. In terms of like a rom-com, I think that was my favorite rom-com of the year. Next, I have a movie that no one really watched except me. Me and my friend who I went to see it at TIFF with. I was sure this was going to be a big movie. Like when I saw it at TIFF, I'm like, someone's going to pick this up. It's too good to pass on. And no one picked it up, really. Didn't get a wide distribution from what I understand. But the movie is called Sketch. And the reason why we watched it is because my friend, Jackie, who does a lot of VFX, he knows the YouTuber who directed the film because he used to watch his VFX YouTube channel. I did encourage a movie from a YouTuber this year, but it wasn't the one you're thinking of. It wasn't the Philippou brothers or Chris Stuckman. It was this one that I chose to encourage. No particular reason. I think I just missed the Philippou brothers movie when it came out, and I didn't think Shelby Oaks looked all that good, so I skipped out on that one. But I did watch Sketch. And again, it feels like a movie of a bygone era, a movie that is just a straightforward family movie about a kid who draws and her drawings come to life. It's not the most original premise out there, but it does work. And there's some creative elements in it. From what I understand, the movie did not have a big budget. And what they were able to pull off with that small budget was really effective. It does help that you have a director who knows what he's doing when it comes to special effects. And I thought the lead performance was good as well. So, I have Sketch at number 9. Number 8, I have Wake Up Dead Man. I love these movies right now. The Knives Out movies, they're positioning themselves as movies where it's like, you put one on, turn the lights down low, you put on the fireplace, and you just enjoy it. I just like that, dude. It's solid. It's like, it's classic. It feels like you're playing Clue. They each have a bit of a different flavor. The first movie has a bit of a more traditional Clue flavor. Second one has a bit of a tropical comedy kind of feel. It feels more blasé, and even the plot itself, it's like less concrete. And this one is the most dramatic of the three, where it almost feels like a horror movie, where the stakes feel very suddenly higher. It's probably the best of the Knives Out movies, in my opinion. The stakes just feel higher. I think Josh O'Connor's character really brings a lot to the table. I think he's a really fantastic actor. The supporting cast in this one was weaker than previous entries. Like, I wasn't that interested in the supporting cast of Jeremy Renner and Glenn Close compared to, like, say, the first movie that had Chris Evans and Toni Collette. I thought that was the best ensemble. But the movie does focus a lot more on Josh O'Connor and Daniel Craig, that it doesn't really bother me all that much. The second movie, like, it does try to have some broader themes of like eat the rich and political divide and income divide and stuff like that. And this one is trying to do a message about like modern MAGA Trumpism kind of things. But it's subtle enough. It's in the background where it's like it works, and that I like that. Like, it's really a solid movie. I love Daniel Craig in these movies. They're just fun watches. It's movies I can watch with my family, with a fireplace, eating ice cream. It's just cozy. It feels like a warm blanket. I'm really happy Rian Johnson found his niche. The Star Wars movies didn't work for him, and I'm not forgiving him for that terrible Last Jedi movie, but I'm glad he's like over that and he's doing something good. It must have been like, when you think of it, J.J. Abrams, the guy who made Rogue One, I forget his name, but they've all had a tough time bouncing back after those Star Wars movies. Because Star Wars fans are fucking trolls, you know? They'll fucking crucify you, and rightfully so. I like fans that keep people in check, you know? But Rian Johnson got the most heat out of all of those directors who made the new wave of Star Wars movies, and yet he's the most prolific right now. So, say what you will, the guy does come across as a bit of a douche in interviews. I don't think so, but some people think that. I like the guy. I like these movies, and I like the movies he did before the Star Wars movie. I just think that Star Wars movie was a big dumpster fire, but I'm glad he's back on his feet and he's making these fun little Knives Out movies. They're not saving the world. They're not as grandiose as you would expect the director of a Star Wars movie to make, but he found his little niche and he's working in that sandbox and he's having fun. And his scripts are intelligent. You never see the twist coming in these, which is crazy. We're on the third movie and it's like it's always a surprise, and he always finds a way to keep you guessing throughout the whole movie. Kudos to him. Happy for the guy. Next, this is a 2024 movie. I consider it a 2025 movie because it had its wide release in 2025. I have Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. I love the Wallace and Gromit movies. I love the shorts. I love Curse the Were-Rabbit. I really love these movies. And this one just works. If you like Wallace and Gromit, it's just Wallace and Gromit. Come on, Gromit! The plot is funny. The bad guy is funny. I love the Mr. Bean kind of visual comedy. The animation is spectacular. What they're able to achieve with stop motion. I knew this was going to have a bit more CG than prior Wallace and Gromit movies, and I was a bit skeptical when it came to that. It didn't overshadow the stop motion animation. It complemented it quite well. They just used it a bit in backgrounds and to give a little more depth. But other than that, it's used very sparingly. The action sequences are better than some of the action sequences, like some of the best of the year. Like, it has that Mad Max, like that thing George Miller talks about with the Mad Max movies, where like if you do an action sequence, it has to be a throwback to Charlie Chaplin, where you're doing visual storytelling as the action is happening. Wallace and Gromit does that to perfection. It wasn't the biggest movie when it came out. It wasn't the flashiest movie. I think people who are Wallace and Gromit fans are now like 70-year-old British people trying to get an erection, and that's why it didn't get a lot of notoriety. But I'm a 70-year-old British man who's unable to get an erection, so yeah, there you go. Next, I have the Roofman. The Roofman. Oh yeah. So the Roofman, everyone knows the story by now. It's about a guy who's running from the cops, breaks out of jail and he's running from the cops and he decides to hang low in a Toys R Us. And what I like about the movie is like when you're a kid, you're like, dude, I could live in this fucking Toys R Us. There's so many toys. And then like when this movie happens, you watch it, you're like, wow, that fucking sucks. I would never want to live in a Toys R Us. But there's a certain craftiness to the movie that I like. I like the idea of like how would this guy survive in a Toys R Us, and he's like eating candy and stuff like that. He finds a way to make a shower out of certain toys. Like he uses jump rope to dry his clothes. Like all that was really interesting to me. The movie really did hit me on an emotional level. I felt like this year there was like a lot of movies that hit me emotionally in the sense that it's just people trying to do the good thing, and for one reason or another, they're unable to do the right thing. Channing Tatum's performance in this movie, like, the guy's come a long way from being in fucking Step Up 3 or whatever the fuck that was to being in a movie like this where he's carrying the movie with a really stellar performance. Yeah, just the idea of like this character is trying to do good. He's trying to turn his life around and he just fucking can't for XYZ reason. It hit me emotionally. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's no surprise because it's directed from the guy who made Blue Valentine and Place Beyond the Pines. This is a bit more of a broad movie, and you can see those trace elements of those prior to more indie, more niche movies present in this movie, but it's just broad enough to bring it to a wider audience. There's like a scene where the character goes to church. And it's more effective than any Tyler Perry movie in which the characters go to church. I felt like I wanted to go to church when I was watching this movie. It felt like the movie was like coddling my soul. It felt like it was taking me and saying, listen, Paul, you've had a hard time, but we're gonna help you get back on your feet, dude. That's how I felt watching The Roofman. I felt it in my soul. It's not the most complex movie out there. Just the relationship he had with Mary Jane from Spider-Man. Fuck, what's her name? Mary Antoinette. The relationship they had, I think what helps the movie is that everyone kind of just looks like a regular person. No one looks like insanely like out of this world beautiful. Obviously, Channing Tatum is a very handsome guy, and at any opportunity I'd have, I'd love to grab a coffee or just hang out with the guy. But no, everyone, it feels like I know this guy. I know this guy. I know this guy who keeps fucking up and keeps trying to do the right thing and fucks up again because circumstances are never quite lined up the way they should. I know that guy, and I just felt so bad for the character. I thought it was like an interesting character piece, even if it wasn't the most complex movie. Yeah. Number 5. Getting to the top 5 here, folks. Number 5, I have weapons. I liked weapons up until the big reveal, which is like people are the opposite of me. They love the whole witchy aspect of it. It wasn't for me. What I did love about this movie is what the movie had to say about a town reacting to trauma, which is a very relevant theme in 2025, is how do we react to trauma? Do we point fingers? Do we harm ourselves? Do we harm others? And I feel like that's what the film was going for. The film does feel like a kind of an allegory for a school shooting or a similar type of event where all these kids go missing and we're just seeing different perspectives. And they're all like in their own pockets. They're all in their own echo chambers, so they all come to different conclusions. I thought that was really interesting. Josh Brolin is having a hell of a fucking year. You know, between this and Wake Up Dead Man and Dune, which was like last year, but late last year. He's like on a roll, Josh Brolin. The scares were fun. The different perspectives were fun. Like that kind of Pulp Fiction kind of narrative was interesting. I was with my friends watching this movie. They bursted out laughing because there's a title card just written Paul, and it opens on a guy like downing a Red Bull, which is basically my life at this point. Ansel Elgort is an actor who doesn't get enough flowers, you know? But yeah, every perspective I thought was really interesting until they like just reveal the movie and reveal what's been going on this whole time. Found it bit disappointing. And I wish there was a bit more intertwining of the stories. Like, I liked it when the stories would intertwine. I feel like the most interesting character was Julia Gardner. Is that her name? But I thought she was the most interesting character, and she kind of gets forgotten. I wanted to see more of her just as the emotional core of the movie. The guy who plays the heroin addict is fantastic. One thing like about this director I like is that he like has characters in the movie who are completely selfish assholes, but he just likes it. Because I like selfish assholes in movies, because I'm one. All right, number 4 is gonna be a bit of a controversial one. Die My Love. I really like this movie. It's another one of those movies where it's like you just want these characters to succeed, but they just never do it for XYZ reason. I felt like the chemistry between Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson is like beyond this world. I feel like they really work together well. When the movie was coming out, there's a lot of people were like, this is way over the top. This acting is so over the top. Some even took it personally and saying, is this what the upper class thinks the lower class is acting and looking like? And to that I say, listen, this movie is not a blanket statement on the lower class. I think people are losing their damn minds. I know some people that are like I used to live in America, man. I lived in Maine. I knew a couple of couples that they're not quite like this, but man, they're flying a little close to the sun, like Icarus, you know? Anyway, I thought this movie was phenomenal. What the movie was trying to say too, like, I got it too. The issue of like postpartum depression and women's mental health is just not at the forefront of movies, but on a broader note in the medical field as well. People don't talk about that. It was a really powerful movie to me, and I like the ending where it's like the character finally gets what she wants, and it's like completely not what the audience wants, but it's a quote unquote good ending for the character. I felt like it was a bold way to end the movie. And Lynn Ramsey is not a director I'm necessarily fond of. I never really connected with her movies, but this is the first one where I'm like, dude, this is powerful. Like the crazy energy of that love at first sight you get at the beginning of the movie, and then the complete decomposition of a relationship. If there's one thing I didn't like was the nighttime sequences. I felt they really slowed down the movie. I almost want to like take the movie and edit out all those sequences just so I can get like a shorter movie that's like compact and constantly energetic. I felt like they kind of just slowed down the momentum. Jennifer Lawrence, absolute star, absolute amazing actress. You know, she got a lot of heat at some point for being like full relatable or whatever. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what these actors do in their spare time, you know? Most of them are very bad people. All right? 90% of them don't even have a GED. Okay? They're not the brightest bulbs. They're not the nicest people. It is what it is. I just watch the acting, and whenever I see Jennifer Lawrence in a movie, she gives her 150%. She's, well, except if it's an X-Men movie. But other than the X-Men movies, she gives her 150%, and I like her for it. This movie was like watching a train crash into a building where it's like everything is going to shit, but I just love what I see. It's like I can't get my eyes off of what I'm seeing. It's like too grotesque and disgusting and beautiful and weird. It basically tackles every emotion you would feel being in a long-term romantic relationship with someone who's a little bit crazy. And they're both a little bit crazy. Sure, this movie is about kind of focuses on women's mental health, but there's a lot of male mental health too. I feel like it's a very 2025 way of depicting the nuclear family. And for that, I think the movie will act a bit as a time capsule. That's how I feel. Speaking of movies that will act as a time capsule, Eddington is my number 3. When this movie was coming out, I was like, I don't want to fucking watch a COVID movie. Ari Aster, I like you, but please don't make me do this. I'm so sick of COVID. I was in pharmacy before I was doing my internships in a hospital during COVID. I'm like, please do not bring me back to this era. And I expected to hate this movie. Quite the opposite. I loved it. I feel like this movie and One Battle After Another are trying to do the same thing. And One Battle After Another got all the praise, But I think by far the superior movie is Eddington. It's weird, it's messy, it's all over the place, but 2020 was like that. Like, you can't really fault it for it. I think Joaquin Phoenix was an interesting character in the movie. It starts off, this guy just wants to not wear a mask, and then he falls down this crazy wormhole where everyone is like in their own bubble, both literally and figuratively. And then the ending, how it just turns into No Country for Old Men. It's such a weird movie. It was a breath of fresh air. I'm someone who didn't really like Beau is Afraid. I thought like there was a lot of good in it, but overall it kind of felt like good moments stitched together. And in a way, this is more of Beau is Afraid, but I liked it a lot more. The comedy was good. It found a way to poke fun at not one side or another side, but the situation in general. It was just a really weird time. And to see Ari Aster just muster the courage to tackle this, there's been smaller movies that tackled COVID, but this is the first like mainstream movie that really talks about that topic. He kind of shows that he's a ballsy director who doesn't really give a fuck. And he found a good way to approach some of the topics in this movie. The topic of misinformation, the topic of too much government. He found a special way to depict all these elements and create a time capsule that anyone from any side of the political spectrum can watch and appreciate. It's one of those movies that people are going to watch it and feel good laughing about themselves. Number two, I have Friendship. I think I have it a lot higher than most people who watch this movie. I just love Tim Robinson. And I kind of tried to subvert your expectations. At the beginning of the video, I talked about how I didn't really like The Chair Company. And I think what doesn't work about The Chair Company is that Tim Robinson works because he exists in a world where everyone is normal except Tim Robinson, versus in The Chair Company, everything is weird. And when that happens, I kind of just lose interest. Here, it's like he's the only weird thing about this world. Everyone else is normal. And it's kind of the same problem I have when I talked about the Naked Gun remake. It's like, I don't know how else to say it's funny to me. Like, so many moments of friendship are funny to me. It kind of felt like it was parodying an A24 movie. One thing about an A24 movie that you eagle-eyed A24 fans might notice is every A24 movie or movie trailer starts with ha 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 ha, and this movie does it too, but then it just opens on Tim Robinson's ugly ass face. I like it. I just like his sense of humor. I like how he pokes fun at corporatism, how he pokes fun at like this weird like era where you're walking on eggshells and then he just runs in and fucking tumbles on all the eggshells. I like his sense of humor. He's really forward thinking. I was a fan of the Tim Robbins show. I think he should leave, but I was like, I don't know if he's going to be able to sustain this for a 2-hour movie. And he does it. Like, he does it in a way that's like fun, because jokes aside in the movie, I thought the plot was interesting. I thought the dynamic between Tim Robinson and Paul Rudd was funny, and I wanted to see where it goes next. I was constantly guessing. And then there's like some shit in the movie that happens. They choose to provide zero explanation for anything. Like, there's like a scene where the kid kisses his mom on the mouth, and it's just there, and they never address it again. And Tim Robinson is just like, eh? And then they just forget about it. Or the guy who says, by the way, we should have never gotten out of Afghanistan. Bad move. I liked every aspect of this movie. It really encapsulates the sense of anxiety that most people my age and probably younger and older are feeling in this generation when it comes to like forming friendships in the workplace, meeting new people. There's like a new sense of anxiety that comes with that I don't think was present in prior generations. And this movie kind of pokes fun at that dynamic in a really weird, funny, and interesting way. It's a comedy like no other, I will say that. And it's not going to be for everyone, but it was for me. It made me laugh. And my theater was laughing fucking loud. Spoiler alert, I guess. But they set up in the movie that he goes onto the balcony of the house, and when he goes to return in the house, he hits his face on the window. And at the end of the movie, they pay off that joke and he just crashes through the window. And that was so unexpected. My whole theater started dying. I think it really resonated with the people who did watch it. But I do realize that Tim Robinson is a bit of a polarizing guy. A movie that's not as polarizing is my number one. And it's Marty Supreme, dude. Marty Supreme, man, is the movie, man. The movie of the year. By a long shot, I'll even go as far as to say it's probably the movie of the decade so far. That might be a bit of hyperbole, but I really don't think so. I think this is the best Safdie brother movie. I think it's the best Timothée Chalamet performance. I think it's just a beautiful fucking movie, dude. It rocks my world. It rocks my world. It's everything good from Uncut Gems and brought to the next level. Let's make the plot more interesting. Let's make the ending not shitty like Uncut Gems. Let's just do it, man. And it just has so much energy. I'm never bored while watching Marty Supreme. As soon as it ended, I just saw it a few days ago and I'm like, I want to see it again. You know, like, there's some movie. I forget who's the director who said this. I think it was Tarantino. Tarantino's been having a lot of takes this year, and I'm not gonna lie, I agree with most of them. But that's besides the point. But one take I remember Tarantino talking about is that, listen, America is always gonna be on top when it comes to movies. If you want like a vibe, go to France, go to Italy. But if you want a story to be told, you watch an American movie. And the death of the American movie means that there's fewer of those stories being made. I think Tarantino's kind of being a bit more like catastrophic and a bit too blindly patriotic when it comes to that. I think like you see amazing stories come out of South Korea, for example. But there has been in the past few years this a bit less of this focus on let's try to just tell a good fucking story. That's what Marty Supreme is, dude. Marty Supreme just tells a fucking American underdog story, but it's like unlike anything I've ever seen. It felt a bit of Patton. I felt a bit of Rocky. It was all these like American movies smushed into one and then sent out to the world. And even the way Timothée Chalamet is promoting the movie feels very American. For better or for worse, I know a lot of international viewers aren't going to be like into this movie because of that. Your main character is this brash, very cocky, stubborn American. But I watched it in a way that was like Patton, where it's like, I don't really like this character, but I want him to succeed. I want to see what he does next. He is very far from me, but I do see like elements in him that I admire. I admired the main character's ambition. I admired his craftiness, and I just wanted to keep seeing this character going. It's not very unlike Uncut Gems, where like Adam Sandler's character is the biggest fucking piece of shit, but it's like you want to see him succeed. You know, you want him to win that game. It was like that with Marty Supreme. The production design is beautiful. I felt like I was like smelling New York in the 1950s. And spoilers, it did not smell good. Yeah, and the sense of humor the movie has, like the scene where the bathtub falls, all these small moments that like as soon as you feel like you're gonna catch your breath, like something bad happens, like the dog runs out of the car and all of a sudden a lamppost explodes and you're like, fuck. Or at the end when he's doing the ping pong tournament, he's like finally doing a rematch with the guy, and they take out a pig and all of a sudden he has to kiss a pig, and you're like, that came out of nowhere. It felt like the movie has a very funny sense of humor, a very twisted sense of humor, but it has a lot of heart, and I think that's what sets it apart from a movie like Uncut Gems. While I do love Uncut Gems and I like love it to death, it's like probably one of my favorite movies of the last decade. I think what makes Marty Supreme a step above it is that heart, is that kind of Rocky sensibility to it. It feels like a more cocky kind of slamming my dick on the table kind of version of Rocky. The ending where Kevin O'Leary is spanking Timothée Chalamet, it just constantly keeps you entertained. It has such a fast pace to it. I think the movie is about like 2 hours or 2 hours and a half long. It felt like it was like a half an hour. There's very few movies like Marty Supreme to me that like I'm gonna watch that in the theater multiple times. Here's my like movie watching sensibilities is of all the movies I watch, I probably really like 10% of them, which is depressing, but that 10% I like is like I watched on a loop, and Marty Supreme is going to be one of those movies. I loved it from start to finish. Timothy Chalamet is an actor I don't even necessarily like that much. I find him very muted and monotone, and but this movie, it's like they give him so much to do that I feel like he just took the ball and ran with it. Yeah, no pun intended on that last one. All right, see ya, folks. That's all the movies I've seen in 2025. Whew. All right. Take care, folks. See you around.